Let's turn to the business news now. We've got that developing story we've been mentioning over the last few hours from Airbus today. The company announcing the end of the A380 Super Jumbo, and our business editor Stephen Carroll is here with the very latest on it. Stephen.
Stuart, it's the world's largest passenger plane, but Airbus says the last A380 will be delivered in 2021. The company announcing the end of the line for its Super Jumbo after years of speculation. Now, this news coming as Emirates, the line's largest customer, cut its order for the plane. Airbus says the decision to end the production of the A380 will affect up to 3,500 jobs. The aerospace giant reporting an almost 30% rise in net profits for 2018. Georgina Robertson has the details.
It's the world's largest passenger jet, but the A380's days are numbered. Airbus will deliver its final one of the Super Jumbos in 2021, after its largest customer, the airline Emirates, reduced its order by 39 aircraft.
As a result of this decision, we have no substantial A380 backlog and hence no basis to sustain production. This leads to the end of A380 deliveries in 2021.
For Airbus, it's the end of an era. With a capacity of up to 853 passengers, the double-decker plane made its first flight in April 2005. It was hoped to compete with the Boeing 747. With a catalogue price of over €350 million, the sales have struggled to take off. The planes were so huge that some airports had to build new runways to accommodate them. The model has been blighted by technical problems, late deliveries and order cancellations. Airlines have turned to a new generation of smaller, more nimble jets. Emirates, for example, ordering 40 of the A330 Neos and 30 of the A350-900 jets. But aviation market analysts have said that the A380 wasn't a huge program for Airbus.
It's a small program for them. Whether they produce it or not is really not material for Airbus. It doesn't also mean anything for the profits because the aircraft is at maximum plus minus zero at the present production rate. It's more a matter of prestige and a missed opportunity.
Airbus reported a 29% rise in profits for 2018, despite the losses from the troubled A380.
Well, earlier I spoke to our correspondent Chris Bachman in Toulouse, where Airbus has its headquarters. I asked him what the decision means for the workers and the industry there.
Production will end in 2 to 3 years' time. The workers themselves, Airbus, if you buy a plane from them, any other aircraft like the A320, the one that is most popular, you have to wait about 8 years before you actually pick up your aircraft. And airlines don't like that. It's like if you buy a car, you don't have to wait 8 years after you put down your down payment. So a lot of those staff, those workers, will be reallocated to those aircraft, so they can get those out of the assembly lines as quickly as possible to customers. Who will be hurt the most will be suppliers who over the last decade have invested heavily in new machinery, new tools, and that's a lot of money, but they were told there could be a market for 1,200 A380s down the road. Of course, and now it looks like there'll be a market for around 260 of these. So it's really the suppliers who are going to really pay the brunt of the cost of this decision that's been made this morning.
Well, let's turn now to what's happening on the markets next. Shares in Airbus up 4% after that decision to scrap the A380. That had been expected, as many investors felt that it wasn't a huge impact on Airbus's results. Shares in the carmaker Renault up 2.5% after their latest results showed a slump in annual net profits. We've also got new figures today showing German economic growth was 0 in the last 3 months of 2018. That means that it dodged entering technical recession. This is the picture in Asia. Things a little calmer today, less trade optimism playing out on the markets. There were some growth figures out of Japan as well, showing the economy there picked up towards the end of 2018. Moving on, high-level trade talks between the United States and China have begun in Beijing. The US Treasury Secretary and Trade Representative are meeting China's Vice Premier. This as they try to reach agreement ahead of a US deadline of March the 1st to increase tariffs on Chinese imports. These meetings happening as China reported a surprise increase in exports in January. They were up 9% compared to January of last year. That's much better than had been expected because we'd thought we'd seen the start of the effects of the trade war on exports in December when they dropped by 4%. Economists saying, though, the January figure may be distorted by the Chinese New Year holidays, which could have encouraged people to spend more in advance. France's unemployment rate has fallen to 8.8%, the lowest since 2009. That's according to figures for the last 3 months of 2018. from France's National Statistics Office. Compared to a year earlier, that's 0.1 of a point lower. The decrease mostly down to a reduction in unemployment among the under 25s. Well, finally from me, it's a company that many people have never heard of, but the software business Funware caught the eye of traders after its share price rose by 3,750% in just 6 days last month. It's since lost much of those gains. The erratic movement's not so much down to the company itself, but to a loophole in the stock exchange Nasdaq's rules that allow companies listed to restrict a portion of their shares from the public. So that means if there are just a small number of shares on sale, price movements can be a bit mad. Nasdaq says it's working to close the loophole. Stuart.
Mad. That's an incredible figure. Stephen Carroll bringing us that incredible figure with Business Today on France 24.